Hey, let's learn how to play Taking It to the Streets by the Doobie Brothers. This song is amazing. Michael McDonald's singing is off the charts and the piano part is pretty tricked out and super fun to play. Let's see what we can learn from this. So the first thing we get is this ridiculously awesome 4-bar piano riff that you heard me play at the beginning of the video. It's played twice for the intro and 4 times for the verse. We're in the key of C and the first chord is F minor 6, followed by F major. Then it resolves to the tonic chord C, and then we get D7 and G7 sus4. And all of this harmonic action unfolds over a G pedal tone in the left hand. So let's talk about what's going on here. The first 2 chords are F minor 6, a modal interchange chord or borrowed chord from the parallel key of C minor, and F major. It's very common to have both a 4 minor and a 4 major chord back to back, but it's almost always the other way around, from major to minor. The fact that he goes from minor to major is unique and really interesting. This 4 major and minor thing usually resolves to the tonic chord, and he does here as well. Next, the progression moves to D7, which is a secondary dominant chord, and that resolves to a G chord as you would expect. In this case it's G7 sus4. So all this is pretty hip already, but then he adds 2 elements that turn this next level. The first one is the pedal tone G. To me it acts as the glue that ties all this together. Listen to how this would sound without the pedal. That's okay, but with the pedal. That sounds much hipper to me. And secondly, there's the rhythm. It contains some well-placed syncopation in the right hand against the consistent 8th note pedal in the left hand. If I took out the syncopation, it would sound like this. Here's another way to look at this section. Remember that harmony is just a bunch of individual voices, that is, horizontal melody lines, coinciding to form vertical structures that we call chords. Isolating these voices and looking at them one at a time can deepen our understanding of the overall harmony. Check out the lowest voice in this verse progression. Here's what this sounds like against the pedal tone G in the bass. Next, there's the top voice. So this one descends diatonically instead of chromatically, 4-3-2 of the key. Here it is with the pedal. And lastly, we got the middle voice. It's split into 2 notes on the first chord, C and D, and then merges into 1 note and just pedals the tonic note C the rest of the way. And with the G in the bass. A great exercise for learning chord progressions is to first isolate the voices like I just did and play them till our ears get familiar with them, and then move to playing 2 at a time. For example, the top 2 voices sound like this. Add the bass note. And the bottom 2. With the bass note. And top and bottom together. add the G. Each of these exercises helps our ears really understand what's going on, so we can eventually hear what we play and not just press a combination of keys that we've memorized without any true oral connection to it. One more observation here in the verse. The top voice descends from the 4th scale degree down to 3 and 2, which strongly suggests a resolution down to the tonic. But instead of giving us that resolution, he jumps back up to the F and starts the descent again. The same thing happens at the bottom of the harmony. We really want to hear the resolution down to E, the 3rd of the key. But again, he withholds that and jumps back up to A flat. All this creates a feeling of perpetual suspense that keeps us engaged with the music. And that suspense is finally released when the pre-chorus hits, at least partially. So let's talk about that pre-chorus. Here's the piano part. So all that pent-up suspense of the verse finally releases into the tonic chord C. But notice that he plays it as a power chord. There's no 3rd. This is one of those secrets that they don't teach you in music school. In blues or rock and roll, it's very common to leave out the 3rd on the tonic chord. Not that it's wrong or anything, but including it can often sound a bit too nice, too major-ish. It messes with the grit that this music is supposed to have. Now, he does play the 3rd in the verse, as we've seen, and we'll hear it in the chorus as well. But in both cases, the bass note isn't C, so it doesn't sound as nice as it would in root position. In the second bar of the pre-chorus, the bass note moves down to B flat while the right-hand chord stays the same. In bar 3, we're moving to F major with the 3rd A in the bass. And in bar 4, we have F minor also with the 3rd A flat in the bass. Remember how I mentioned that if there's a 4 major and a 4 minor chord back to back, the major one usually comes first? That's what's happening here. And the difference between the major and minor is reinforced by the fact that the 3rd, which is the only difference between the two chords, is in the bass. And then we get a suspended 5 chord, F over G, at the end of the 4-bar phrase. Notice how in bars 3 and 4 the right hand first plays an F major chord, then F minor, and then back to F major. But because G is in the bass, we hear that last one as a G9 sus4 chord. In this style, it's very common to voice chords with the tonic of the key, in this case C, as the top and bottom note of the voicing. Check out how many chords that fit the vibe I can play like that. A C power chord, a regular C triad, C7, C over E, C7 over E, F, F7, F minor, F over G, D minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, A minor 7, D7, D sharp diminished 7, F sharp diminished 7, C over G, etc. One more thing regarding the rhythm in this pre-chorus section. There are some variations each time he plays the 4-bar phrase. And if you listen to the various live versions, he never plays it the same exact way twice. But what I played above is the gist of it. You can take that as a starting point and then season to taste. By the way, if you're thinking, geez, Christian, you're really getting into the weeds here with the details, you're absolutely right. And the reason I'm doing that is because these details are the difference between good and great. As my favorite piano teacher used to say, genius is an obsession with detail. And finally, we get to the chorus. Here's the piano part. So there's two elements in the chorus. The chromatic riff that's played and sung by almost the entire band, which is this part. And that happens in bars 1, 3, 5 and 7 of the chorus. And then there's a piano fill in the other bars that coincides with the lead vocal fills that also happen there. Like the rhythm in the pre-chorus, these fills vary from bar to bar and from performance to performance. Let's start with the riff. The right hand plays C7 without the third. Then we got F major, F minor and C major. It's pretty similar to the pre-chorus progression. Once again, it moves from a C chord to F major and then to F minor. And then the last chord is C in this case. The two C chords have a grace note. The F sharp leading to G on the first one and the D sharp leading to E on the second. Meanwhile, the bass line starts on E and moves up chromatically from E to F sharp to G. Putting both hands together gives us this: C7 over E, F major, F minor over F sharp, and C over G. Those are all familiar chords except this one, F minor with F sharp in the bass. This is a great example of the importance of context. Looking at the chord in isolation, it might make sense in a modern jazz tune or maybe some 20th century classical piece, but not in a pop song. So what makes this work? Well, first of all, it's very brief. It only lasts for an eighth note. Secondly, the resolution is very convincing. And thirdly, both the right hand and the left hand are playing really well-known blues cliches. You will hear both this line and this one all the time in blues turnarounds, individually and together. This chorus riff is just a more dissonant version of that. So now all that's left are those little fills in the chorus. The first two are pretty similar. On the third one, he uses one of my favorite blues chord riffs. That's got some bite. And then in bar 8, he plays this to lead back to the verse. As I mentioned, there's a lot of variation in these fills, in the other choruses and in other performances, but they're all based on very similar language. So there you have it. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love.